especially when I'm going to be channeling. I would like to share a little something with you. I was reading today, this morning, and typically I read from Allan Kardec's The Spirit's Book. It seems to be a big book. It's about 500 pages. I've got the PDF version, so. But anyway, I came across this and I thought this might be good to share. It's a bit on the long side. So he wrote, now, what the Spirit's Book is about is it's a collection of teachings from various seances and circles and everything. And he asked, how can spirits at their origin, when they have not yet acquired self-consciousness, possess freedom of choice between good and evil? Is there in them any principle, any tendency which inclines them towards either road rather than towards the other? That doesn't make sense to me. Apparently it made sense to the souls because their response was, free will is developed in proportion as the spirit acquires the consciousness of himself. Freedom would not exist for the spirit if his choice were solicited by a cause independent of his will. The cause which determines his choice is not in him, but is exterior to him, and the influences to which he voluntarily yields in virtue of the freedom of his will. It is this choice that is represented under the grand figure of the fall of man. Well, let's not even worry about that. Some spirits have yielded to temptation, others have withstood it. The idea here is that nobody shows up in this world evil. Sometimes the body could be a little off because a lot of those who are considered sociopaths have difficulties understanding emotions because of the way their brain is formed, because we are able to empathize with other people through mirror neurons. And if they're lacking in certain people, they're not going to be able to understand emotions. So they will appear to be evil, but they're not really evil. They're just working with what they have. Evil is, it's up to the person who is perceiving the act to determine if it is evil. Other than that, it's simply an action. It's like the tornadoes that blew through, I think, last week sometime through Omaha, I think. Maybe I got it all wrong. But when they knocked down those houses and everything, we would call that an evil act. But it was just an act. Because from that process, all the old stuff is knocked away and makes way for the new stuff. And that's the same with us. Does anyone have any comments or questions they might like to share? Thank you for allowing me to share this. Our séance, which is another word for circle, but séance seems to catch people's attention. This is when when we come through from the other side, and this one feels that when we move in, he feels us move in from his back and then move forward. So sometimes we're in and out, and sometimes we're fully in. And today's lesson, is how do we know what to bring to you? And this is a question that he has been dwelling upon. We gave him a little bit of input here and there, but essentially what we do is, in these instances, the strongest person. And what we mean by the strongest person, we mean the one who is open. Not open-minded, but actively receptive. And this is something that was displayed in another form, actively receptive. You're not standing there waiting, but you are allowing. And to allow something to happen is a bit of activity. It's not just standing still with your hands or with your mind, just letting everything run through. It's not the way it works. So we hear the strongest one, and we hear the information, and we see the information. Let us first address how we communicate, because you typically hear us come through him using his voice box. But when we talk to you, we talk in a different fashion. Do you know how animals often communicate? No? They communicate through empathy, through feelings, your emotions. They communicate through pictures. They visualize, just like you do when you sit in meditation or when you sit with intention. You visualize. And when you visualize, you create a picture. And the picture that this one is seeing right now is who is speaking through. They see someone who is a bit taller than he is and a bit more robust, maybe a little less hair, but he sees what the soul appears as. And it's not that he sees it with his eyes, because this one prefers to allow us to come through with his eyes closed, afraid that he will lose his concentration. Unfortunately, he doesn't know that it doesn't work that way. When he allows us to come through, we just come through, whether his eyes are open or closed. But this is how this one prefers to operate. And he sees this image, this picture, because he's visualizing what we might look like. And we speak with you through that same visualization. It's not that we beam anything onto your visual cortex, but that is the only way to explain it. Does that make sense? Good. So that is how we speak. Emotions are strong. And those emotions are projected. You can't help but project your emotions. And we feel them. We see them. Your emotions, they have different colors with them. If we were to tell you what color means what and everything, it would just be confusing. It's better to just go with what you know. And that is also how we select our topics for teaching. We utilize what each person knows. If you are a very religious person and we present something that's not quite so religious, you are going to feel upset. Or at least the one we are working through will feel upset. And they will not understand. It makes no sense to discuss anything that anybody is not going to understand. So when we come through anybody, and it's not just this person here, it's others who also do the channeling work, as they like to call it. Being a spiritualist, we call it trance. Spirit communication, although this one prefers soul communication. But spirit communication. We can't present anything to you that you would not understand, because that serves no purpose. Does that make sense? Yeah. So our advanced teachings can only take place on how much you comprehend of the earlier teachings. And this one is made good strides. He's got some stuff a little off a little bit, but we can work with that. Such as our previous teaching with reincarnation. He sees it as something entirely different, but it was close enough to where we could come through and give the teaching without anything getting lost. So does all of this make sense to you?
Yes.
Yes. Good. Before we progress, do any of you have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Why don't you use his name? Why do you always refer to him as this one?
Names have little importance, particularly to this one. It is difficult to go against what one believes when we are doing this. And for him, names are of little value in our realm. The only value they serve in this realm is merely as identification. They don't embody anything as far as he's concerned. What is your name?
Connie.
Connie. And if I look through the thoughts of this one, because we share each other's thoughts, he has many names for you. Calls you many things. Because that's how he feels. It's an expression of how he feels. Do you know why everybody likes to use pet names? Because those pet names expresses how they feel about you. And it sounds kind of nice, even though it's not your name. Yes?
Yes.
It's endearing.
Endearing, yes, yes. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Were there any other questions?
No. Thank you.
You're welcome. We can only work as well as the channel or the medium is prepared in what they have. We cannot present stuff that is beyond their comprehension because it just, well, how many of you understand quantum physics? Exactly. Exactly. You read something about quantum physics and you're lost. And when I was here, quantum physics was still in its infant stages. But then again, you really don't know. Because each of you, as you listen to what it is that we are teaching, is taking a risk. And the risk that you are taking is that I am not who I claim to be. That what I am offering you is no different than what he offers. Or that what I am offering you is so radically different that you dismiss it very easily. And what purpose would that serve? The reason we come through is to help you all understand that you are all connected. You are all part of each other. You are all, it's not that you are a part of God. Because if God is everywhere, then so are you. You are everywhere. You are all souls, are you not?
Yes.
Yes. You are all souls. We have to be mindful of how we teach through our channels. Yes.
Did you choose this one or did this one choose you?
We chose this one. We have been working with this one for quite a while, not in this capacity. We had to develop this person. We had to set this person's mind at ease. We had to condition him, as you would put it. Because other than that, his disbelief, not his disbelief, his distrust. I could hear him. His distrust of all of this. He distrusts all of this so much. He questions everything. He doesn't take anything at face value. He is distrustful of everybody. He didn't come this way. He became this way through life. He doesn't even trust himself. So we had to work with him. We worked with him through his writing. We worked with him through his teaching. We worked with him through making connections. And connections are important. Because when you can connect something that we bring through to one of your experiences, how much better is it? Does that answer your question?
Yes.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question? So how do we decide what to bring to you? Sometimes it is what is foremost in this one's thoughts. Sometimes it is what is happening in your life. There is a great deal of concern about the direction everything is taking, particularly your politics. This is nothing new. We had the same issues in my country when I was here. Yes, I'm not from this country, but we had the same thing. Everybody experiences the same thing. But you can rest assured that it is part of the cycle. Nature is the best teacher. That's what we taught them. Oh, I'm sorry. When I was here, they were teaching us. Get confused sometimes. But nature is your best instructor. And that is the only instructor this one trusts implicitly. Everything in nature happens through a cycle. You have a cliche, history repeating itself. It's very true. This has happened before. It's happening now. It will happen again. Question is, how will it affect you? Has it altered your thinking? Do you see your neighbor as separate from yourself? Imagine when Jesus may have walked this realm and what he saw. The separation from the Jews and the Gentiles. It wasn't Jews and Romans or Jews and Egyptians. It was Jews and Gentiles. That was it. Us and them, I believe, is the term a lot of people use. And what was the teaching? It got messed up here and there, but the teaching is that we are all God's children. And yet, circumstances happen, and we see them and us. And it's all circumstances. when the people lived over 1,000 years. Yes, that truly happened. It was so long ago. Until somewhere a separation took place, a separation in thought, a separation in community. It's not that God is separate from us, it's we are all God. The Native American Indians, there's a reason why spiritualists like their teachings, because they teach that there is a reverence for everything. A reverence for the chairs you are sitting in, a reverence for the plants that you will soon be planting, a reverence for the food you consume. That was the way it was so long ago. And for whatever reason, nature introduced something different. Nature has a way of that. If things are going too good, nature just kind of takes a left turn. Why does that happen? How many of you live boring lives? How many of you wish something would happen? And then when it happens, oh, it's not what you wanted, but it is what you wanted. Nature is like that. And we are like that because nature is like that. There can be no progress without difficulty. Does all of that make sense for you? Is it
Yes.
helpful?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any questions that anybody might have? Then we will end our lesson for today. And we look forward to addressing you again. And I am not Joseph, nor am I the ancient one, nor am I the other one. You never really know who's going to come through. That's why we don't use names. Thank you very much.
Thank you.